All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start recording. Um, so I did actually take some notes for today because I usually feel like if I don't, I forget things. But what I want to talk today about is storytelling. And I start kind of came up with this topic because I was looking at ways to sort of improve my social media posting. And so I had kind of watched some YouTube videos of some top coaches and found out a lot of different things. And some of the stuff is things that I'm doing, but a lot of the stuff I think are things that are hard to do, especially as when you're a new coach. And so you will see, you'll hear this a lot, especially with this business is facts tell and stories sell. And so really what we're doing is we're not selling. Yes, we're selling Beachbody, but that's not why people decide to buy from you. You're selling you. And so you have to know that it's what you're posting that people are going to decide that they want to buy something from you or follow you or join your challenge groups. And that's by sharing your story. And I know when I started, I felt like I had to have this like big, elaborate story and be able to share that and have people kind of really be able to relate. But what I've discovered is you really just have to have multiple small little stories. And that's what's going to allow people to relate to you and connect to you. And then that's how you're going to get your following. And that's when people are going to develop trust in you. And so, when you're posting on social media, it is, yes, we want to post like we post if we're just posting our workout selfies and our shakes and our meals that look healthy and our kids, that's okay, right? Because people get inspired by you. Certain things you're going to post is going to help with your brand. Like Lindsay, for example, posts, they go to, they do soccer on the weekends. Everyone knows Lindsay's family does soccer on the weekends because she's consistent about posting that. And that's a branding thing because she's going to attract people who are like her, who are soccer moms or who have kids who are in sports on the weekends. And that allows those people to totally relate to her. And your workout pictures and that sort of thing, it's going to inspire people. They're going to say, oh, that's great. You work out every day. They're going to kind of leave it at that. But sometimes you have to tell your story with it. And that's where people are going to be able to relate to you. And I'm not saying that every post you have has to have like a paragraph long, in-depth thought process to it. But, aim for one every day or every few days. And so it could be something as simple as like, so I don't know who saw my post that I made tonight. It was actually my picture from working out yesterday because I cut my workout short tonight. But it was me just saying like, hey, it's hard to work out. Like I am tired. I hate daylight savings because it's so true. And, I work all day and I work all night with the kids and it's hard. And there's a lot of people that can relate to that because what are one of the biggest objections you get? Time, right? Time is your biggest objection. And something that I had read about when I first started was use your objections to tell your stories, to inspire your posts. So if your posts have to do about time, really look deep into yourself and figure out what are you doing that most people would say they don't have time to do. Because you don't probably have time, but you've made time. And when you share that story, that's where people are going to be able to relate to you. That's where people are going to be able to jump in and say, aha, maybe I can do that. And I think Alicia, actually, you had posted a workout of like Maddox, like crawling all over you. And Jenna has been talking about coaching for a long time. Like she just wasn't really quite feeling ready yet. And she had posted under your picture, I think, where she said, aha, like I get it. So I always thought I couldn't do it because of the kids. But what I realized is everyone else is making it work with kids running all around them. I just felt like I couldn't do it because of that. And so that's exactly what you want people to do. You want people to look at your posts and say, or read your story that's with your posts and say, wait a minute, like her child is crawling all over her and she's still working out and she's making it work and she's getting results. So like, why couldn't I do that too? And so that's what you kind of want to do. And so when you like think about your story, what I want you to do is think about snippets of it. And there's multiple pieces. And so what I was trying to do today is I was trying to think about like, what's my story? And what I realized is I have like multiple different stories. And so I have the story when I started coaching, and it was at that time, it was just trying to get back into fitness after I had my first child. And Lindsay had been working out, and that's how I started following her, because I'm like, well, gosh, if she can do it, I can do it, right? That's what we want people to think. And and so, that was a little bit of a story. And then it kind of turned into more of a coaching story, where coaching just brought a lot of positivity and personal development into my life. And then I found that when I felt like I was negative Nancy working in the ER, it was just my attitude, and I needed an attitude adjustment. But what helped get me there was personal development and coaching and being surrounded by positive people. And so that's, a little story. And then, oh gosh, what other stories? Like tons of stories, right? I have stories from like body image issues when back in college, when I was just had a reckless and eating a lot. And I was at a point where I had very low self-esteem and wanted to do anything to try to get to a point where I felt better about myself. And that included, diet pills and things like that. And that's things that people can relate to. And, I don't know, right now, a lot of times what I share about is coaching has allowed me to take Wednesday. I have every Wednesday off. I think almost everyone knows it. Like people are like, oh, you have Wednesday off, because I post about it so much on social media. It's allowed me to have a day off where I can spend more time with my kids. And so you don't have to have this like huge elaborate story that you talk about all the time, but think of all of these little stories, and you can just piece them together. And what I realized when I was putting this video together is that I don't do a great job at retelling my story. And that's what we need to do. And that's what top coaches do when I was doing research, because you're continuously adding to your network and you're continuously getting new followers. And so you can continue to tell the same story, but just word it different, add a different picture, just mix it up. But as you get more followers, you don't have to tell it once. I think for me, this is like a big scary thing for me to say. And so I'm going to say it, and then I'm done. I don't want to say it ever again, And so, but that's not what you want to do. You want to say it again. And it's those stories where you really dig deep. It's like those big secrets, the ones that you're scared to death to post on social media, that are the ones that people are really going to appreciate, and they're really going to be able to connect to you. And that is that's a really hard thing to do. And I'm not saying you need to hang out all your dirty laundry. Like if you and your husband are at it and you're about to get a divorce, no, I don't want you to post that all over social media. Like if you're a drug addict, and like you don't necessarily have to post every horrible thing. You don't want to attract a bunch of train wrecks, right? It's kind of like it's a balance between like I'm a normal person. I am not perfect, but I'm working to better myself. And so that's what I always try to get my stories to be like. This is how things were, and this is where they are now because of this. And so I think that's what allowed people to relate to you. And this is another thing that I had a hard time doing. And Sarah and I have talked a lot about this, is like, people don't want to see your highlight reel, you guys. They don't want to think you have this perfect family in this perfect house where your workouts are perfect every day and you eat perfect every day, because no one likes someone that's perfect, right? Like you find perfect people annoying. And so you want to just be real and be you. Have you guys seen that Kohl's, everyone has to have seen it because it's like the funniest thing, that Kohl's Snapchat thing. Have you seen it, Robin or Alicia? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Okay. I am going to find it and I'm going to tag you guys in it. So it is this girl. I don't personally do Snapchat. I should, because I've heard it's good for the business. But she essentially, like, you can put your different faces on, and she's impersonating someone who's at a Kohl's counter about Kohl's Cash. And it's hilarious because I don't know if you guys ever shop at Kohl's at all, but I think so many females especially can relate to this 100%. And so she actually, what's really interesting is I've been stalking her, right? This is what you want people to do to you. You want people to be so kind of like caught off guard or interested in your post that they then want to stalk you. And so I stalked her, right? And what I found out is she went through divorce 9 months ago. She's got 2 little kids, and she just started making these videos because it was kind of like her outlet. And she was sort of sick of like pretending that everything was okay in her life and that she was, had everything put together, because she's like, really, my life was crumbling before I knew it. And so this was just something she put on her private Facebook page. One of her friends shared it and it went viral. And so I actually looked into her Facebook, it's called Keeping It Real, like hashtag Keeping It Real. And she literally created this Facebook account after this video went viral. And she has like 160,000 followers right now in this thing that started November 30th, like 7 days ago. And that was a few days ago. She probably even has more now. And so, and if you go through and you watch her videos, I kid you not when I tell you I've been stalking her. She would be number one, she would be a perfect coach. But 2, she just is real. She puts on these videos. She's 100% genuine in her, and she's not trying to inspire people, but she's trying to allow people to understand that they're not alone in things that they're going through with marriage issues, with kid issues. Like this one, she's up in her bathroom eating gummy bears. And she's like, I told my kids they were all gone. And I turned on a movie and I stuck upstairs and hid in the bathroom and I'm eating gummy bears because that's the only way I can get gummy bears without my kids stealing them. Like things that we could all totally relate to. And so I watched her and I thought, she has this down, she's just being real and she's not trying to sell anything, but she's allowing everyone else in social media to see that we don't have to try to be perfect or pretend to be perfect all the time. That was totally a little tangent, but I'll tell you guys in that you totally have to watch it.
I did the same thing though. I saw that video and then I kept scrolling down and kept watching more and more of her videos because it was so funny. And then all of them, they were very relatable.
I know. Didn't you think so? That's the exact same thing that I thought. And the first, then I thought, this is the coach in me. I thought she should become a Beachbody coach, because if you can do that, you can totally be successful in this business. Because it's
from Michigan.
I know, like Ann Arbor or something.
I think so.
Yeah, I kid you not. You will want to stalk her when you find this dude. But that's just it. When you find yourself relating to someone, even if they're a complete stranger, then all of a sudden you feel like they're your best friend. And that's what we want people to feel like with us. And the cool thing about that is when people find that level of connection with you because of your posts and because of the way that you share stories, they tell you things that they don't normally tell people. The post that I made about the binging and purging thing, honestly, I never told a soul, you guys. That was the scariest thing I've ever posted on social media. In fact, the day before I posted it, I said to my husband, did I ever tell you I kind of used to puke up my food in college for a short period of time? And he's like, wait, what? Bulimic? I'm like, yeah, it was just kind of a temporary thing. And he's like, no, you never told me that. And I said, well, I'm posting on all of social media tomorrow. So just a heads up. And he's like, Beachbody, kind of rolled his eyes and whatever. But those are, and I've been doing this for 2 years, and it took 2 years to get to a point. So I get that there's certain, kind of skeletons in your closet. And I'm not saying that you have to just come out. You'll get to a point where you're comfortable, but you're never going to be comfortable. But when you get to that point where you're kind of thinking about it, gosh, I feel like maybe I could help people by saying this, then push yourself and just say it. but we really do have a gift, because when we tell our stories and people can relate to you, they're going to start coming to you with things and asking things, and they'll start sharing things with you that they wouldn't normally share with people. Because that's a really neat thing, because you can really help people when they're in a bad spot in their lives and no one else knows it. And that took me a while to realize, but that's what I've totally realized by doing that. And you're helping beyond kind of the physical transformations and improving people's self-esteem. When you're just being you, you're helping people in a way that you'll probably never even understand. So the other points that I had with the storytelling is, when you're telling your story, act as if when you're posting, act as if you're talking to one person. Act as if your best friend is on the other side. Don't make it like a general post, like, okay, people, I've been doing this, blah, 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 because then the people reading it feel like they're talking to you, and it makes you even that much more relatable. What else did I want to say? I had made posts. Post with clarity and purpose, and we kind of talked about that. Make it concise, make it purposeful, make it something that's not super long, because no one wants to read a really long post, but is just kind of to the point, but relatable. Share it over and over again. And this was one of the biggest take homes that I had, was I don't feel like I share my stories over and over again, because I think that I'm going to be annoying to people if I keep saying the same thing over and over again. And that's rule number 1 in Beachbody coaching, right? Like, forget what other people think of you, because that doesn't matter. So I know that I need to work on looking at my stories and revisiting them and sharing them in different forms and different ways. I already touched about that. No one wants to see your highlight reel. You have to share your workout. Make you feel this, but you have to be more vulnerable than that. Yeah, so this is like what I had written, but I kind of touched base on. You have to share your workouts, and you have to share your Shakeology, and you have to share how like the groups and the exercise make you feel, because these are all stories, but you have to be more vulnerable than that too. And that's the hard thing to do, but that's where you're really going to be able to connect with people. So that's kind of the gist of it as far as storytelling. Does that make sense to you guys? Do you have any questions? No, I don't. Robin, I don't think I'm Facebook friends with you. You just started doing this. I know, like, Lindsay and Alicia, you guys do a really good job at, I feel like, telling stories. I think, Lindsay, your Ultimate Reset, like, journey, and that was like, I mean, I feel like that was a big story for you. It was kind of like this journey story of you sharing how you didn't used to eat you don't like vegetables, and you don't like eating fruits and vegetables, and you're a picky eater, and you've always been a picky eater, but you did the Ultimate Reset, and it really helped you to kind of change your taste buds and incorporate, and so that was like a story. And I feel like you developed a lot of probably relationships and a lot of people that were able to relate to you just from that. Mm-hmm. So that was awesome. I think that's exactly what you need to do when you're posting things.
I feel like, though, sometimes I feel like I need to have more of a plan or an idea of like what I'm going to post, because some days I'm like, I feel like I just say the same thing over and over, like, here's my workout, here's my kids, here's my workout, here's my kids. So sometimes I, like, as far as the storytelling, I feel like I almost need to like have a little bit of a plan, like, what am I trying to get across this week, or what am I, what's kind of my point, or my bigger picture, that I'm going to try to pull in.
Yeah.
Focused.
I thought the same thing before too. I'm like, I wonder if I could use Hootsuite to like schedule these so then I can think about it and
Yeah.
like build on it if I have things to change. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you could use Hootsuite. I will be honest with you, I struggle a lot when I'm working. And I don't know about you guys, but it's like when I work, my day is not exciting at all. It's like I don't even get up and work out like a lot of you do that you can post. I work up and nurse my son because it takes him like 45 minutes to eat in the morning because he's still so tired. And then I pump while I drive to work, really exciting, right? And then I go to work, and then I'm always a little bit hesitant to like post because I'm Facebook friends with so many of people that I work with and some of my employers. Like I'm always a little bit reluctant to post when I'm at work because they all know I do this business and I don't want them to think I'm like doing the business on company time. And then I get home from work and, it's just like some days I will literally post 3 things within 2 hours. And I'm like, okay, I need to, try to schedule these out. And on the weekends and on like my day off, I feel like I have a lot more to post. But yeah, I totally understand. It's like, do people want to see another picture of my kids or my dinner? Because that's all I'm doing tonight is hanging out with my kids and eating dinner. Um, and that's okay. That's okay. Like I said, every post doesn't have to be this big, in-depth story of who you are because a lot of your posts are branding you. I get tons of likes on posts of my kids. I think everyone just likes looking at little kids, And so it's like, I get likes from those. And so I want to keep posting them because that people enjoy seeing those. And sometimes the more vulnerable things you put out or the more coachy type things you put out, you get less likes or you get likes from the same people, like your challengers or your coaches. What, Alicia?
I said, yeah, only like 5. And it's all you guys.
Yeah. But you just started doing this too. And so that's the thing. Like I remember when I was new, I remember thinking like, man, I'm going to max out of people because you only know so many people and I'll keep adding my network, but then only so many people. But even now, 2 years later, I have people who I had been talking to 2 years ago who all of a sudden want to, try this. And this is what every like top coach will say is the reason you have to be consistent with posting and consistent with your workouts and consistent with everything is people want to know that you're the real deal. And if after 2 years you're still doing this and you're still getting results and you're still coaching, then they think, oh, maybe this isn't that bad. Like maybe I should finally try. And I know that's crazy because 2 years seems like a long time when you're doing this business, but in the grand scheme of things, 2 years isn't that long.
Mm-hmm. I think that like people don't always like the always like the workout photos or the Shakeology photos, but that they see it. I think that with like so many different things that people like try and sell through Facebook, they know that, oh, if I like this, they might start talking to me. But I think that they always like kind of keep you in the back of your mind that if someday I do decide to want to work out, that they'll come to you because they see you keep doing that. So
yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like you said, that so many people, because I do the same thing, so many people sell things and you're like,
mm-hmm.
well, I do like it, but I don't really want to like it because if they think that I like it, then all of a sudden they're going to start, like, they're going to ask me 10 times whether I want to buy something. So you're like, I'm just going to just like it, but without actually clicking like. And that's where your stories kind of come in. And that's where people then can relate to you. So if it's, it might be like a picture of your shake and saying, like, what is this doing for you? Or how is this replacing it? Again, people love when my kids drink the people don't like when I drink my shake, but if I put my shake in my son's hand and he drinks it, people love that, it's so funny. And I had a like he really literally drinks it every day. Cafe latte is his favorite. He calls it his coffee. And I had done a post, and all of a sudden I got like a ton of messages from people who had kids, and they were like, "Oh, you let your son drink that?" And they were really like interested in it. So it's really just funny, and it's just playing around, because my audience is different than your audience. And so it's a matter of just playing around and figuring out what people are kind of looking for. And then a lot of it is, again, that they're going to follow you and you're not going to know it. And then one day they're just going to be like, "Oh, I've been watching you and I want to do this." And you're like, "Oh, I had no clue." Because you haven't liked anything that I posted. How was I supposed to know you were liking what I was posting? And so, yeah, I feel like I was going to say one other thing about that, but now, I do know that Lindsay used to recommend, so anytime like she would put a really vulnerable post with a call to action, like say a story and then say, "I'm starting a challenge group, blah, blah, blah," or talk about the coaching opportunity. She would message everyone that liked that and then say, "Are you interested in being a coach? Are you interested in joining my challenge group?" Even if they didn't, like if you were like, "If you're in, comment below, I'm in." Comment like blah, blah, blah. I feel like we all use the same verbiage. And so for a while, what I would do is just that. Every people that liked it, I would message them like, "Thank you. It was really hard to post that." And I usually say that to people when I do put a post that's really hard to post, because that's true. Like, there's nothing like putting the most vulnerable post out for all of social media to see and then not anyone liking it. Because then you're like a turtle. You just want to stick your head in your shell and like crawl away and not show up to work for a week, because everyone you work with saw your post, right? It's like the worst thing. You're walking through the hall, for me, walking through the halls in the hospital, and people like start talking to you about your posts, and you're like, "Oh, I forget. You know everything about me." But so what I found was when I was doing that, I was getting a lot of just no responses from people at all. And just with that final question of, "Do you want to join?" And so what I started doing is not even asking them that question, just saying like, "Hey, thank you thank you for liking that post. It's really hard to be like so vulnerable on Facebook, and I really appreciate it," and done. And it's amazing to me how many people then responded. And it wasn't that they wanted to join, but they just want to say, "Oh, you're welcome. Like, I think that's great. I had an eating disorder in the past," or "I like totally couldn't lose weight after I had my son, and watching you has really helped me." And so a lot of times it's just playing with those words. And so that's kind of something to consider too. How are things going with you, Robin? Were you a social media person before all of this?
More just like a Facebook when I had a minute here and there, all from my phone. So that's been an adjustment. I had to actually, log into Facebook through the computer, and I'm like, I don't even know where everything is now. So I'm used to the tabs from my phone. So I think that's going to be an adjustment for me. I think I've kept my Facebook pretty private. I don't know why. I guess just to protect, just my own privacy. So that's something I have to really think about, what I'm posting, what I'm putting out there, and just be more open to expanding. I'll probably do some changing in my profile information, maybe take down some of my professional stuff. And so I don't know, make it a little more, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like with what I do professionally, I have to be careful. Like, I can't post anything that's too sways one way or one another way. You have to be kind of down the middle with a lot of things, nothing controversial. So
Yeah, especially if you're thinking about trying to go into administration.
Yeah,
you can see why you would be more hesitant. But I know, I feel like I didn't post a lot before this, and I was kind of nervous, and at first it was kind of weird, and still I sometimes question it, especially because now that I'm trying to add more people, and you know, before this, I feel like most people on my Facebook I was friends with, I actually talked to them, and now I feel like it's starting to get a little bit more out there, you know, like friends of friends or things like that. So I don't know. I try not to think about it too much because then I feel like it seems too overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's the heart. I think it's when I was watching this about like telling stories. Raina Odell, who's one of the top coaches, and that's what she said. She said, "You guys, like with this business, working out isn't hard, and selling challenge packs isn't hard, and drinking shakes isn't hard, but being vulnerable on social media and posting for everyone to see and posting stuff that's really hard for you to post and posting on days, for me, this is a hard one. Posting on days when you don't feel like talking to a soul is hard to do, you know, like you're in a bad mood and you don't want to be, I mean, again, you don't want to be perfect, but you don't want to be like just one of those Debbie Downer people either. And sometimes it's hard because you don't feel like you have a lot of privacy. And that is just something that you have to get over. And I've listened to things from top coaches who say they don't post about their kids. Like they don't want to include their like they use their Facebook page as a business page. And so they don't want to post about their family and things like that. That personal aspect of their life, they don't. They, you know, post about other things, and that's an option. You know, some people create a like page. I've never created a like page because I can't hardly keep up with my personal page, let alone a like page. But I know I've heard Michelle created a like page, and I know like pages are a lot of work because your personal page already has a network of friends, and then you have to build a whole new network in your like page, and you're basically running two different Facebook pages at that point, but it's doable, you know. And so if you do really want, especially Robin, since you're so new into this, if you do really want to kind of keep things like separated, you could create more of a like page where you work your business off of. With that being said, what you have to remember is there's tons of Beachbody coaches. And so if all you're doing is focused on Beachbody, again, the people that you bring into that aren't probably going to really be able to relate to you in that standpoint. So you still are going to have to be vulnerable on there, but you can exclude some things, say, you know, I don't know, like what you do or whatever, but exclude those things that you feel like would interfere with your job or something like that.
Yeah, I'll work through it. That's awkward right now, but I'll work through it.
Yeah.
I still feel that way like a few months later. It's taken a while, but everyone's had pretty good feedback. I mean, even like when I first became a coach, I remember my like brother-in-law was like, "Oh, so," he's like, "I can't like any of your posts." He's like, "You're just going to annoy me now." And I just laughed, but you know, he hasn't bugged me at all. And, you know, other people kind of had said the same thing, but, you know, then now they're like, "Oh, you do a really good job." They're like, "You make it look easy." I'm like, "Well, it's not," but you know, I think people just, you know, say that because, I don't know, maybe I was like one of those people, you know, you kind of tease someone else when really in the back of your mind, you're just kind of a little jealous.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. People are going to unfriend you. People are going to block you. It's going to happen, and you have to just not take it personally. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. You're probably going to get messages from someone saying, you know, who are like offended by what you're posting or have taken it the wrong way. And it is, you know, whether it's, those are people that can't relate to you, and that's okay. Like everyone doesn't have to relate to you, but just know that you're helping so many more people with your post than you're going to ever know. There's so many more people that are following what you're doing than you're ever going to have any idea. And sometimes they'll come out of the woodwork 2 years later, and it's really kind of a good feeling to know that you're helping people and you're improving their self-esteem and you're helping them relate to you in areas where they feel like they're really alone. Because that's what I feel like that's what social media does to so many people is everyone puts out their highlight reels and then you kind of get on and then you start looking at your life and you think, oh man, is my marriage like really sucky because everyone else's marriage seems perfect? And is, like, are my kids the devil because all these other kids are just sitting smiling, like eating their dinner without throwing food? And and you start to kind of question your life and, whether you're that much different and whether you're kind of like alone. But what I know now is we're not at all. Like, we're like everyone else. It's just a matter of how you portray things. But people are going to relate to you when they know that your kids are naughty too sometimes, and so I think that's the biggest thing. And to just know that we're helping people in that way is really, truly neat. All right. Anything else? No.
So the health bet, you said that you're going to start like January 5th or so?
I think January 9th.
Oh, January 9th. Is it Monday?
It is. It should.
Okay.
Let me look on a calendar here.
Yeah, it's the Monday. Yeah, because I saw it goes from the 5th to February 5th or something. So it's feeling weird like that.
Oh, I haven't even looked at the FAQs to find out the details. I'm assuming it's like the other one. I just know that probably the week leading up to Christmas and Christmas to New Year's is kind of a crazy time. And it's going to be, some people might want to commit in the next week or so to a challenge group in January, but don't be surprised if people don't want to commit that early, just because people feel very overwhelmed right now, which is rightfully so. And so the last thing they really want to do is commit to something a month away. So, maybe start talking about it so it's in people's minds. But then, come January 1st, what's the most common New Year's resolution? Health and fitness stuff. And so you want to be the person that they're thinking of when they decide to make their resolution, and then they'll come to you. And so even if you're not necessarily locking down people, I think just, posting here or there and getting some feelers out there will be helpful come the new year.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and you know how Carl Deichler is posting is anyone else a little weirded out by that, or is it just me?
I turned mine off in the other group. I was like,
that was weird. The first time I saw it, I'm like, wait, is he in this group?
And then he had the disclaimer, I can't see anything in here, but I can post. I'm like, and I mean, we're all Beachbody coaches, right? So we know who he is, and we know that obviously he's a CEO, and it says that on there, but if I was a challenger for the first time, I'd be like, who's this creepy man in this challenge group? And you want me to post my before and after pictures?
Makes it feel a little big brother.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the man punching the kangaroo?
No.
No. Okay, you'll just have to Google it because it's very viral right now. But this Australian guy is fighting a kangaroo, he punches him in the face, and it just reminded me of Court of Force. I'm like, man, if I was up against a kangaroo, I could probably throw a good punch right now too. It was really funny. But
that is really funny. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording, and then actually, what?